Okay, so chapter 6 of The Only One. It's like walking into a room and suddenly the air is thick with tension. We knew Sheng Wang's life wasn't exactly a walk in the park, but things just got a whole lot more complicated.
Right, it's like someone hit the fast forward button on his life.
Exactly. And the catalyst for all this drama, well, let's just say Sheng Wang's dad, Sheng Mingyang, isn't exactly known for making things easy for him.
No, definitely not. I mean, this is a man who's basically been an absentee father for most of Sheng Wang's life, always traveling, always distant, and then he just drops this bombshell.
Wow.
He's moved in with his girlfriend, Jiang Ao, and her son, Jiang Tian.
Just like that. New family, new housemates, and poor Sheng Wang is left to deal with it all. But, even before Jiang Ao and Jiang Tian arrive, we get these glimpses of Sheng Wang's personality, and let's just say he doesn't exactly scream warm and fuzzy, right?
Yeah, he's definitely got those walls built up high.
Totally. And it makes sense when you consider what he's been through, losing his mother, being practically raised by himself.
He's had to become self-reliant, almost by necessity, which makes this whole new family dynamic even more jarring, don't you think?
Absolutely. He's used to his routine, his space, his solitude.
And suddenly that's all being challenged.
It's like that scene at school where Sheng Wang gets called to the office because of Jiang Tian. Remember that?
Oh, you mean the incident with all the rumors about Jiang Tian getting into trouble? Talk about a pivotal moment. Sheng Wang walks in there expecting to see, well, trouble. Someone who embodies all the negative things he's heard.
He's already got this whole narrative built up in his head.
Right. And when that narrative doesn't quite match up with reality...
It throws him off balance.
Exactly. He doesn't know what to make of it because, let's be honest, the rumors about Jiang Tian are pretty unsettling.
Oh, totally. But instead of some hardened delinquent, Sheng Wang finds
nothing. No confirmation, no satisfyingly bad behavior, just ambiguity.
And you can practically see the gears turning in Sheng Wang's head. Like, wait, this doesn't fit.
Because how do you reconcile this new reality with the version you've already constructed in your mind? It's like solving for X, but the equation keeps changing.
And that sense of unease, of things not being quite right, it just intensifies when he gets home, right?
Oh, absolutely. The atmosphere is thick with it.
The new shoes in the cabinet, the missing housekeeper, it's like every little detail is screaming, this isn't your house anymore.
It's subtle, but so powerful. You can practically feel Sheng Wang's world tilting on its axis, and how does he react?
Well, let's just say he doesn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. That homecoming scene. Whew, talk about awkward.
The tension is palpable.
He walks in on Sheng Mingyang and Jiang Ao, trying to be all casual and chatty, and he just shuts down completely.
Yeah, he barely even acknowledges their presence.
You can practically hear the awkward silence.
And that slam door. Talk about a power move.
Oh, for sure. But more than anger, I think it's a desperate attempt to reclaim some sense of control. Like he's saying, this is my space and you can't have it.
It's a defense mechanism, right? He's retreating into himself, hoping that if he ignores it long enough, maybe, just maybe, it will all go away.
But it's not that easy, is it? You can't just shut out reality no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
And in Sheng Wang's case, reality is this complicated physics problem he's using to distract himself. Or at least that's what he wants everyone to think.
It's the perfect cover, right? I mean, what's more Sheng Wang than burying himself in his studies?
Exactly. Except this time, it feels different. Like there's this underlying tension, this frustration that's bleeding through.
Because it's not really about the physics problem, is it? It's about everything else. The new family dynamic, the feeling of being off balance.
And the fact that he can't just solve it like an equation. This isn't something you can just reason your way out of.
Exactly. It's messy, it's emotional, and it's completely throwing him off his game.
And the more he struggles with that physics problem, the more we see that parallel with his own life, right?
Yeah.
Like he's hit this wall and doesn't know how to break through.
It's like he's trying to apply logic to a situation that defies logic.
Exactly. And we see that play out even more when he calls his friend Little Crab. It's like this tiny window into how he's really feeling, even if he doesn't come right out and say it.
Oh, Little Crab, always the voice of reason. It's interesting, isn't it? Because even though Sheng Wang is technically talking about physics, we can tell there's something more going on beneath the surface.
There's this vulnerability there that we haven't really seen before. Like, he needs to vent to connect with someone who understands him, even if it's just about a homework assignment.
It's like he's testing the waters, right?
Yeah.
Dipping his toe into the emotional pool without fully committing.
And just when you think he might actually open up, he pulls back.
Back into his shell, his comfort zone.
Which makes what happens next even more surprising. Because while Sheng Wang is busy trying to ignore the elephant in the room, guess who else is having a late-night crisis?
Oh, this is where things get really interesting. Because remember, it's not just Sheng Wang who's struggling to adjust.
Right. Jiang Tian's world has been turned upside down, too.
Exactly. And now he's stuck in this unfamiliar house with a father he barely knows and a silent observer who seems to resent his very existence. No wonder he's sneaking out for a little fresh air and a private phone call.
It's like he's trying to carve out a tiny piece of normalcy in all this chaos.
Yeah.
But of course, fate, or maybe it's just bad timing, has other plans, because who happens to look out the window at that exact moment?
Sheng Wang. And suddenly everything changes. He stumbles on this scene, this private moment of vulnerability, and it's like something shifts within him.
You can practically see the curiosity bubbling up. He tries to play it cool.
Yeah.
But we all know he's hooked. He has to know what's going on.
And that's where we see that Sheng Wang isn't just this stoic, unfeeling robot. He's capable of empathy, of being drawn in by someone else's pain, even if that someone is, well, Jiang Tian.
The guy who's supposed to be the enemy, right?
Yeah.
But instead of just closing the window and minding his own business, what does Sheng Wang do?
He does the most Sheng Wang thing ever. He throws open the window and calls out.
Classic Sheng Wang. Always wanted to make a grand entrance, even if it's completely unintentional. But this one impulsive act, it sets off a chain reaction, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Because suddenly, it's not just about Sheng Wang and Jiang Tian anymore.
Sheng Mingyang's got to insert himself into the situation.
Of course. Cue the concerned father act. He's rushing outside, scooping Jiang Tian back into the house, completely missing the emotional undercurrent swirling around him.
And poor Jiang Tian, right. He's caught in the middle of this weird tug of war.
Trying to assert his independence one minute, being treated like a child the next. It's like no one's really taking the time to understand what he's going through.
And then there's Sheng Wang, watching it all unfold from his window, like he's suddenly become a spectator in his own life.
The walls he's so carefully constructed, they're starting to crumble. He can try to retreat back into his world of logic and equations, but something tells me this is just the tip of the iceberg.
It's like the calm before the storm, right? You know things are about to get messy, and you can't wait to see what happens next.
And that, my friend, is the beauty of The Only One. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, wondering, empathizing, and maybe even recognizing a little bit of ourselves in these flawed, messy characters.
Absolutely. Well said. Until next time, everyone, happy reading.